been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is, living in the new world with an whole soul.
Biden is a grifter, loser, kid sniffing, woman feeling, bribe taking, plagiarizing loser.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How's it going, Steve?
Doing all right.
A little fired up.
Yeah, I'm not so fired up as more as I am disappointed. Like how we are failed as a town on a daily basis by members of the select board and now, zoning. And not even, so last night there was a zoning meeting, a special one that the town offered a business that's putting in apartment complex, or they're going to update the mill building. So I had a series of questions that I wanted to ask. And I was not allowed to ask them. I was told that it was, what was I told?
Irrelevant to the situation.
Yep.
Because the impact on the school.
That doesn't belong under community impact. So I should have brought the paperwork up here from last night that I had.
Well, I can tell you right now. So
there's 5 points of contention. So let's just start at the beginning. Our town keeps approving, and apparently no one can stop any approval, and we'll get to that as we tell the story, because everything is it's just the Wild West here, because you can't take anything into account, because it would be discriminatory. So right now we have over 200 and something, it's close to like 280, somewhere in that ballpark range, of new housing developments coming in, and a lot of them, and it came out last night, so I was glad, because this was...
They actually told the truth on something?
Yeah, they actually, and it wasn't the select board or the zoning board that told the truth. It was the agent for these money men that are coming in and don't give a shit about our town. It's just the whole thing. So I don't know if you want to start at the beginning, or if you want to do your welcome, and then we'll get into it. I mean, I probably should go get my notes so I can go down it one by one while you welcome everybody into the show. I totally messed that up, man. I'm totally out of it, taking the garbage in.
You're fine. You go get your notes. I will talk. Good news is with Steve Scott, we can talk about him, and he'll never know, because he doesn't watch the show. All right, so before we get into this, one thing I forgot last week, I didn't mention, was the homecoming game that the field hockey girls had, which the reason it was kind of weird, because it was on a Friday, which still kind of started homecoming, but anyways, they won that game, and I believe they've had like a game or two since then they've won, so they're doing amazing. I believe at this point they're like 10-1, so shout out to those girls for really doing amazing. And then there was a homecoming king and queen. It was Kyle Ashley and Emma O'Connor, so congratulations on that. And yeah, that's that little recap. The girls' soccer team won again. When was their game? Tuesday? And then they did lose last night to Bishop Brady, but they should have won that game. They could have won that game. They just need to play better, because this team was very equal to them. But so now that Steve's back, I just wanted to get that into the show. It was important for me to do that. So do you want to go down like... So, do you want me? All right. Do you want to recap the meeting a little bit, and then because I literally have the questions, and we can put all the questions forward, and me and you can answer the questions how we would answer the questions, and then go from there. And I can tell you kind of how it works, because I'm on zoning, but I don't think it's going to last much longer.
So let me start by saying this: I don't like to throw stones when I'm in a glass house, right? I'll tell you this much. You can go back and watch what I say at the end of a school board meeting, and I generally say something along the lines of, parents, please come, let us know what you want, give us feedback. I say it on the show, come out, tell us, because if you don't let us know, we don't know. And it's not personal. If you come to the board with a problem, it's not against me. I haven't done anything. But my job is to listen to you, and then to either assuage your concerns, like calm you down, or take that and action it in some form or fashion. That if it's legal, if I'm authorized to do that in my capacity with the other board members, because nobody can do anything by themselves. So I just want to say that there's probably mistakes out there. I fully understand that. I don't take it personally. I encourage everybody to come out and let us know what we need to do better to help you. And the reason why I ran for the school board was because no one listened to me whenever I would go and talk at the school board. So because no one listened to me, people checked their cell phones and looked away and ignored me and my concerns as a taxpayer, as a parent whose daughter went to school there. I did something about it, and I ran for the school board, and now I'm on it. And so now my job is to make sure that people don't feel like I did, that we listen. And sometimes people don't feel like they're listened to, and I understand that.
Well, the difference is, too, that, I'll just speak for me and you. I think we could speak for all the board at this point, for the school board. But any decision we make as a board, we could publicly defend that decision and give facts to why we made the decision. But that doesn't happen in other boards in town.
They take it personally if you ask them a question.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, I'm not attacking you personally. These are things that I seriously sit up and think about at night. And I would hope that if you don't, that at least maybe you listen to me and say, oh, wow, Steve has a valid concern. Let's assuage him. Let's not shut him down. I mean, because I was pretty much shut down last night. Like, the way that I felt it and the way that I received it, and that's the way that the society apparently works on now. Like, it doesn't matter what your intentions were. What you did was you shut me down. You didn't allow me to ask the questions because you could see where I was going with it, which was just a concern. These people have been trying to put this thing up for 6 years. I'm not trying to stop anything. That was not my goal last night. My goal was to make sure that everybody in town is thinking about something more than, oh, let's put up apartment complexes and then tax money will come here. That's not how it works exactly. Maybe it is, but here's the thing. I was told to go back and watch meetings. Go back and watch all the other meetings on NCTV and you'll get your questions answered. I was told that. I wasn't told that, hey, this is a forum where we're going to talk about how this building impacts and what's important to the public. Right? Number
Which
one.
is not how.
Granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest. So our infrastructure, that's not up for debate because that would be discriminatory. The amount of students we can expect, because, by the way, their paperwork, allegedly, according to a citizen that was in the select board meeting on May 5th, is made up. They said you could expect 2% of the number of rooms added to a town under quote unquote workforce housing to have kids. So if there's 150 workforce housing units, you can expect 3 kids. That's all you're going to get for the town. And so that's the way that the select board shut us down, because I'm pretty sure I went there and asked questions in a similar vein. It's not the first time I've asked, like, how are we going to afford this? Oh, you can only expect like 6 kids from all this development. 6 kids. So public interest, your tax dollars is not of public interest, because that was the point of, let's talk about this, because the numbers they're feeding you, because where's your data, government? Why are we listening to a developer who they just want to make profit off of us? They're not here to make Newport better. There's no altruistic motive behind any of these developments going in. It's for money. It's for profit. It's not to make life good for me and you and the town of Newport. Otherwise, the agent would be putting these in all around Connecticut.
Well, the LLC
where he lives, but he's not going to put this.
But the LLC that will own this building and run this building is out of Delaware.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no Newport ties. Yeah, it's an investment. It's nothing about money. It's just nothing but about money. They don't give a shit about the town of Newport. So I've sat on. I
mean, their mind was. I won't say they. Some minds seemed to be made up based on the way that the questions were not answered politely. They weren't even. I'm talking like. I can't believe that our government officials talk to citizens the way that they do.
So if you watched other meetings, so I've sat on, like I said, I'm on the zoning board. I've sat on this exact case before. Was it this exact one? I remember the one with the parking, same building, but for the parking because they wanted less than 2 spots, which 2 spots is what they required. So I've asked the question directly to John Leviticus.
The agent.
Yes, the agent. And I said, how many kids will potentially be coming in school? I don't have that information. I don't know. Okay.
He tried to tell me on my way out, but I've already seen the data. They
Right.
said out of 1,000 units that were built in New Hampshire, there were only 20 kids that for workforce housing, which workforce housing is a made-up term. The cat is out of the bag because the agent last night, I think he knew where I was leading up to. It had nothing to do with workforce housing or anything else. It had everything to do with, that's a lie. It's a term. There's no legal term for workforce housing. So when your selectmen use this, they're bamboozling you, whether they know it or not. That is a made-up term. There's no legal definition for it. It's low-income housing, just as we've said on the show.
And to John's credit, he actually said low-income housing
Yeah,
last
because
night.
he knew. He was
like,
on the record, man.
All right, very good. You're not lying, because the last developer come in here and said workforce housing, and then we're like, oh, so you have to have a job? Yeah, that's a lie.
Yeah. So workforce housing is a made-up term. You can look it up. You can Google.
And they
You
are
can actually Google the effects of workforce or low-income housing on communities in New Hampshire, and you'd be surprised at the negative stuff that you can find. That doesn't mean that there's not positive things, but there are negative things that you should consider, that you should address, that you should assuage people's fears in town, that you have it under control, and you've done the economic models to show that this is the exact right amount of development all at one time. And nothing bad's going to come from this because they've done their, we can trust them. So what consequences are going to be there for this board? Because the select board was protecting that company last night. Like that's my own personal feeling based on the fact that I was told I can't ask questions because it would be, it would hurt their feelings, whatever. What was it called?
discriminatory.
Yeah, discriminatory if they were to answer any of my questions.
So here's
And I didn't even get to ask all my questions. That was just like my lead-in with like a couple of questions because it's apparent that we're not thinking these things through. Case in point, groundbreaking before they even have secured money for a project that unfortunately the town voted down. So they're going against the town. The school did it before I was on the school board and you were on the school board with the toll building. There are no consequences for anything when stuff doesn't work out the way that you're told. And when I say work out, I mean it's not true. Like
and then they sit back and say
you're
it
sold
was
a
a
bill of
mistake.
goods. Yeah, it's a mistake. So my
Sorry,
bad.
It was a mistake. I misinformed. Wait, but someone constantly has been telling you for how long that this is a mistake, this shouldn't be happening, blah, blah, blah. But still keep pushing it. So the other thing they say, oh, the master plan. Okay, the outdated master plan that I think.
Well, it's 11 years old, and they should be updated about every 10 years. So it's
Right. So
a year out of date.
So our master
Maybe.
plan says that we should have 300 new units in Newport. Is that what our master plan says?
No, it does not say that.
Oh, okay. Because at this point, you have Spring Street.
They always reference that too, because I looked at the minutes, and they quote that master plan every time they approve a housing complex.
I'd
It's
be
in line
curious.
with the master plan.
I'd be curious if we had plenty of housing in town and they were going to build this, what the answer to number one would be. I'm curious. Because you have to get through all 5. If you can't get through all 5, the variance can't go through. Now, 2 of them can agree and 1 can disagree. It's fine as long as you get the vote. But
So from what I gathered last night, the only public interest is the use of that building, not the impact, but which is not correct because one of the guys asked some similar questions to what I was getting to. When I looked at the one from 2017 or 2019, Mr. Kessler had asked about snow removal, so that was important. Not financial impact, but are they going to be able to get that snow removed if they build this, 70 apartment complex? Like that was the most important thing was snow removal. Not what do you project? Granted, they're going to tell you everything that nothing bad's going to happen based on their development. So where is our economic developer's plan that shows our town has what it takes to accept 275 new residents all within a year period or whatever.
But also keep in mind, okay, because I had a phone call the other day, and Duggan called me, and I don't remember if he said 36 families or 30. I think he said families in this town, and I don't know where the number come from, but I've heard some things before that are living in campers because they can't afford an apartment. And guess what? None of those people will be able to move into this place because they either don't make enough or they have children and there's not enough bedrooms. So it's going to help our economic. No, it's not. And they've also tried, because originally they kind of selling this as like, people from Dartmouth and all this can, move into these places. And no, they can't, because we had a teacher in Newport denied the Spring Street one, which is going to be the exact same setup as the Mill Building, except I think the Mill Building has 20, if I heard correctly, 20 market value ones. Which,
No, I wasn't allowed to ask that because that goes. So my reason for asking that was they keep saying it's a 2%, right? So if they add 200 units, that's 4 kids. That's all we're going to get, right? That's
Right.
how they keep shutting it down. Well, if you have 20 market that are 2-bedroom or 1,900 square feet, whatever, because I've seen that's somewhere written down and something
there's
to do
some
with it.
2 bedrooms, yes.
So there's 20 of them but
That's
I
what
was
it said,
wanting to
yeah.
make sure because whatever I read that on was like 6 years old. So, and things change. So that's why I asked what the breakdown is, because it's going to be a totally different number. If you have 20 market rate with 2 bedrooms, you can expect a lot more kids than their 2% that they're saying you're going to get with low income housing that they're putting in our town.
And you remember, variance is forever. So that this building sells, it's forever. And all they had to do in the last 6 years is give the building permit and start work. They didn't have to finish it. They just had to start it, and this would never have been up for discussion again.
So
But in 6 years, they've done nothing.
because I was not allowed to ask questions last night and I was told that I was being discriminatory, and that was totally, I felt, to me, it was to shut me down because I wasn't asking discriminatory questions. I was asking questions that you seriously need the answers to make decisions from my point of view. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you should have something that shows, hey, we have 278 units coming to Newport in the next 12, 24 months. Here's our plan to handle that. This is what we're expecting. Like, put it out there on the website so everybody has an understanding, and then you can shut people like me down. Maybe I don't need to come to the meetings, but I'm going to hold you to whatever you put. Just like you should hold every elected official to whatever we say, because we all make mistakes. I get it. I understand. But if the zoning board can't take into account the granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest. So if they can't take into public interest, and what I have to say and my questions aren't within the realm of public interest, at what point does anybody have the authority to ask this? Is it the planning board? Is the planning board the one that say, hey, you can't build that in our town?
No, because planning is, it doesn't, no.
So the select board doesn't go and say, hey, you can't buy this, because that's not how it works. So it's the zoning board. So the zoning can sit there and say, hey, you know what? We've already got 125 low income housing being developed. No, thank you right now. If you look
Because it
at
is now.
if you look at your plan and you rearrange it, maybe you put some market rate in, we can handle that. But we don't want 275 low income families moving in at one time.
But that's discrimination.
No, it's called city planning. I mean, you would. Since when do we not take into, if that is discrimination, no one in town should ever have to explain to the zoning board what they're going to do with their property. So basically, the zoning board is ineffective and useless at this point. If you can't make a decision and say, we already have 170 low-income housing units being developed, you've had 6 years, I'm sorry. But in the best interest of the town, in the public interest, I can't approve this.
The thing is, I got on zoning.
And I didn't even want that. But now, because you silenced me and you gave a bull-loney answer that you can't take into account that it's low income, made up, because my whole thing is, number one, you lied. Number two, this guy just acted like a jackass to one of our citizens. Like that, you need to find a new agent, if you ask me, because that guy is persona non grata around somebody like me, because you're here to ask us so that you can make money off of us. You're basically robbing us with your investment in the town, right? Because it's all whole. That's all you generated out of the goodness of your heart. Because you're just a Robin Hood. You're such a philanthropist. No, you're a capitalist. You're making money. Shut the hell up and be polite and respectful to the town that you're trying to rob openly in public forum. Like, what the hell is wrong with people?
Yeah, it's all investment.
Could you imagine?
It's all federal money and
You're
tax
talking to
credits.
a citizen and you're going to smart off to him like that, and you're here looking for something from us. You're looking for something from us, and you're going to talk like that, and then they're not going to put you in your place. Nobody
So-
put him in his place last night except for Dr. Scott.
So literally, that's the exact same outcome that happened.
So who are they working for?
Well, that's the exact same.
Whether
thing.
they realize it or not, you're working for that corporation, man.
So
LLC,
the
whatever.
exact thing happened when they came forward to the zoning board for the whatever for parking. They wanted less parking. Okay, it was a Zoom meeting. It was the first freaking meeting I ever had to run. And when we went into the deliberate session, John kept interrupting, like to the point where even Christina, who's the zoning planning, what's her title? She's the head of planning and zoning. I don't know her exact title, and I apologize. But she even was like, because I'm like, can you mute him? Because he was on Zoom at the time. That's when Bert, who couldn't show up to the meeting because he'd had a medical procedure done that day, and then he showed up and stopped the meeting. He's like, you cannot vote on this right now. And of course, Kessler's like, well, I don't see a problem with it, because that guy, he broke the rules because he got all pissed off because he felt like it was not going the way he wanted. And that's what happened.
And they keep sending this guy. So, hey, I guess it's good to be tenacious. So, all citizens, you can get a special meeting whenever you want, because they don't just do it for big donor companies that are putting in allegedly a 70-unit
That have
apartment
private that have
complex.
private non-publics with the select board.
If that's the case, then no one on the select board that sat in a private meeting should have participated in any decision making with the zoning board, in my opinion. I wonder what a court of law would think if that's true.
That's what Bert tried to say. Bert tried to say the borough shouldn't sit either because he voted to give them the tax abatement for the 300,000 for 3 years or whatever.
No, he did
Each
not.
year.
He did not. The agent corrected everybody and let them know that was a vote that the town took to allow that.
You know what though? Here's the thing, because I don't remember this vote. This vote apparently happened a long time ago or a while ago. But basically, that whole thing was because you ask Bert. Bert goes to every freaking meeting. He knows all this stuff. Okay, that was with the concept of North Main, South Main, like those buildings, trying to help them keep them flowing, going, whatever. Now, granted, according to John, there was a map they circled, and that building was on that map, or whatever. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with what John did. John went to get a tax abatement. If I was John, I would have done the exact same thing. However, you as a select board should be saying, well, tell you what, we'll do it maybe based on a little bit of this, contingent on this. He could have got up to 13 years by law, which they gave him 3. But same thing, though. This building has literally been in the works for 6 years with changes of plans, right? They're trying to, in the town itself. Now, some different selectmen, different manager, obviously, because that shitbag's gone, but have tried to develop this building. Jay Lucas, they've tried to do something with that building for 6 years or more, okay? So if you're going to tell me the town of Newport on that level, the leadership, whatever, is not vested in that building, and that they would actually sit there and then say no in zoning, you are off your rocker, because the town and that's the thing. People bitch about Spring Street, and I've said right along, I have no problem with Spring Street. Here's the reason: the freaking building is there. He put his money where his mouth was. He built the goddamn building. He didn't ask for a tax abatement. You ask him, he'll tell you, I didn't ask for a tax abatement. He just asked for a freaking sewer rate hookup that wasn't highway robbery. And I said it from the get-go. It's bullshit. You shouldn't. The dude's not getting 42 water meters. He's getting one. He's getting one sewer hookup. He should be paying $10,000, $15,000. That's it. There should be no other fee. And the fact that the town's still pursuing this is a crock of shit. And the citizens in this town should shut them down. Now they're trying to use it. Well, we could use that money for the sewer treatment plant. Really? Because you were the same people that made the decision to go forward with a $28 million system, and you don't even know what it's going to cost to actually run it.
And we're adding. Hey, here's the other thing. We're adding 200 some odd users, probably, right? They're not going to be in a septic tank, but our sewer that we're building, allegedly, as far as what I understand, is a third less capacity.
However, the system they have now is way overbuilt, so it's not. It'll handle it. It's not. There's no issue there.
So you did some research on that, all right?
The system they have now is.
But still,
is
$28
overbuilt.
million for a less productive system just seems.
Right. Now,
Because you were bullied by the EPA, because they scared you, because they're going to shut down all
The whole
septic
town.
tanks and everything in town if you don't pay them this
literally,
month.
it's never happened in U.S. history, but Newport will be the first town.
Yeah,
that
we're
they
the
come
only
in.
ones falling for the bullshit in the whole entire state of New Hampshire, I think, right? We can't be
Yeah.
the only town on a...
Right, every time. Yeah, it can't be. So, Spring Street, he built it, right? And Spring Street comes in, they'll start paying sewer and water fees. Okay, so that's going to help, right? This mill building, it will help because they'll have a substantial water sewer bill. So it will help on that aspect. But here's the thing. So say you got $100,000 a year out of them in sewer and water fees. And I'm just throwing a number out there because I have no freaking clue what it'll be. So if it's $100,000, that's going to help the little lady down the street that can't pay her goddamn bill because it's going to go up 200%, 300%. I don't know. Because what we were originally told doesn't seem to be true anymore. And I don't understand how, because you know how much money we borrowed. It shouldn't fluctuate. They should know exactly how much it's going to be. But whatever. That will help that. However, if you figure $20,000 a kid, 10 kids, that's $200,000. So their water sewer, oh, we're helping, yeah, okay, but now you've cost taxpayers. There's $100,000 difference here. Okay, but they're going to pay a lot in taxes. Okay, so maybe they pay $200,000 a year in taxes, $100,000 in water sewer. That's $300,000. Okay, so as long as you don't bring in more than 20 kids. Plus the fee, because that fee doesn't come off the tax rate. That water sewer literally goes into that fund to help pay for that system. But what if 30 kids come in, 40? You don't know how many freaking kids are coming in. Spring Street, same thing. If you look at that, their taxes won't be as much as the mill building because that will be assessed more. But the offset isn't there. So if you're paying $200,000 a year in taxes,
Well, if...
and 21 kids come in, that building now costs the taxpayers in Newport.
Right.
And you can argue, Kessler's done this, and I agree with Kessler on some of it, because you can't technically say that every kid costs $20,000, because based on our budget this year, $20 million, break it down per kid, it's about $20,000 a kid. And I agree, because we had another kindergartner next year. We didn't need to get a new teacher. Maybe it's fine. But when you start adding 20, 30 kids at a whack, and keep in mind, if one has special needs and they, have a $250,000, have to send them away to a special school kind of thing. And like I said, now I'm not going to discriminate against that child or anything, but you got to think about that in the taxpayer's point of view, how this works, right? So, like little towns like Goshen, like I've had this conversation with Steve Smith. He's like, 2 or 3 special ed kids, not even special ed, special needs kids come in that have, severe disabilities that have a legal right to go to school, and I don't disagree with any of that. And they have to go to Crotched Mountain. I think he said it was like $250,000 a year, and the town pays that fee, right? And I don't know if the state pays some. I would hope, but God knows in this state. But you have to factor in all these little things, and now you can talk property rights. Trust me, I am the number one person to talk property rights. I'm only on the board because Julie, I don't know her last name now, but I say Julie. Everyone in town knows who I'm talking about. Was like a Nazi when she's the head of the zoning planning. You couldn't do nothing. She would actually go around looking for violations, and thought that was her job. And I wanted to build a barn. I was told no. Then I called Ben Nelson. Like, she won't let me build a barn because I have to build a house first. Well, kind of find out that's not true. She's just like, I don't want it to become like a storage thing or whatever. And I'm like, I'm building a barn because I'm going to
Store animals.
Exactly. And I did get my permit or whatever, but that's what motivated me to join.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, Steve, you can do anything you want on your property. I don't care what you do on your property, as long as it isn't contrary to public interest. So what I mean by that is, Steve says, hey, you know what? this guy down the road's gonna just let me. I'm gonna dump this nuclear waste on my property. That's definitely gonna be horrible for my neighborhood, but I'm gonna make money. So who gives a shit? Yeah, no, Steve, you're not gonna do that because the public interest outweighs it. So if I'm like, I'm gonna whatever, public interest outweighs that. I agree with that. But if your fence is too high or you're this or that, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is the United States of America. We're a free country. You have no goddamn right to tell me what I'm going to do with my property. And I truly believe that. And I vote that way.
Well, it's supposed to be like that in New Hampshire.
Well, yeah, really supposed to be like that in New Hampshire, the live free, die state. But so when it comes to these housing projects, now you have to look at the impact it has on the community. Some of it's good. I think Spring Street is probably going to help. There's some people that need housing. Sure, okay. But 270 approvals, units approved. Now, are they all gonna be built? No, they won't. But you're looking at 70 and 42, and then they just approved 42 duplexes up past the airport that cross from Corbin Road. So those are gonna be, I assume, 21 houses, a duplex, a two-per. So there's 42, and that's, from what I understand, not low-income housing. Right? That's just regular, So that will be very much a burden to the school because those will be families moving in there. Some of our families in Newport will probably move into there. But out of 42 units, I guarantee you at least half of them are going to be people from a different town, which will come into our town, will come into our school, and affect it. You want to continue with those questions? I'd love the answer. Or you can continue with whatever you want.
So my first one was the breakdown of units. Like what are the units? Because that was going to lead me to...
And he has done that in the past. However, brand new case. Yeah. I don't care what's happened in the past. It's lapsed. Your variance lapsed. It's a brand new case.
Apparently
and Christina
not.
has said this before when we've went to go back to talk about something that happened in the previous case. And she's like, this is a brand new case. We heard Spring Street 3 times because of little stupid things that happened.
Yeah, last night was I feel like my perception of everything last night was as a rubber stamp. That's what they wanted to do on Tuesday. Mr. Spalding did whatever he did, and then last night it was as a rubber stamp. Like they didn't want tough questions because I think the town deserves these answers. And if you answered them somewhere else, give me the fucking answer tonight. Like, do you expect me to be able to watch 90 things? Do you watch everything that the school board does? Like, I mean, we do because we're on the school board. But like,
well, I still haven't managed to watch that Monday night meeting. I just got filled in more about it. I still need to watch it. I'm a freaking busy person. Like,
I know.
So
it's
that never should have been said. That's the whole thing. When I told you last night then that you should file an appeal, and when you're told that you don't have,
she said you don't have grounds for appeal. He answered your questions. I'm like, what? I got told I can't ask questions. I only got to question number 1. Really? Why does it keep doing that? I apologize. So my number 1 was the breakdown of units.
Yep.
And then if he would have said workforce housing. Then I'd be like, oh, can you define that? What's the legal definition of that? So that was just if he does that, just so I can. But to his credit, he acknowledged that it's low-income housing. So, Mr. Kessler, I'm pretty sure he was the one that corrected me at a meeting. And if it wasn't me, it was somebody else. But I'm pretty sure it was. It's workforce housing. It's not low income, or it's not section. Maybe I called it Section 8 or something or somebody did. It may not even have been me. I may have just been sitting there. I guess.
Spring Street takes Section 8.
Well, no, they don't. Not according to the meeting. So these meetings that were referred to by a sitting member, it wasn't even the chair. So after that, it was, where is the analysis from the town that we can look at that shows the impact on the roads, the police, the traffic pattern, the fire department, the school, sewer and water? Where is all this analysis that you've done to make sure that this is going to fit nicely into our master plan? So I didn't get to ask that one. And I suspect that I would have been told, like I was, go watch the other meetings on NCTV. That's what your government official said to me or somebody last night. Go watch what it says on NCTV and all the other meetings. Not let's address it right now in the meeting where we actually approve them to build this. Go and watch some, and then you'll get your answers. So you don't have to justify. You don't have to answer them. I don't understand. Like, anyway. So the next one was, do you have a projected rate? Because I've seen their rate is 2%. And according to and granted, I have not fact checked this, but somebody else fact checked it and they handed the paper out in May and said, hey, they're saying it's 12, it's actually 500. Like, that's a big difference, right? So, like, it probably does need to be, that needs to be fact checked as well, but that's a big difference. 12 students out of 1,000 units versus 500 out of 1,000 units.
I've said before, they come in, they can say anything they want, they can find any study they want, because, I mean, let's face it.
But we shouldn't be listening to the developer. The developer is biased.
The town should have a representative there fact-checking this dude.
There should be somebody who understands economics better than me and you.
Right. And that's not the zoning board's job to figure it out.
No.
The town should have someone there, whether it's their lawyer, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. Someone should be there from the town, not Christina, because that's also not her job. Her job is to set up the meeting, give the permits, do all that kind of stuff. Someone that says that number he's telling you is complete bullshit. No, we just take everything they say at face value. I've been on the board it's been 5 years. Yeah, it's been 5 years. And I don't think we've turned any cases down. Zero. None. We've had some where we told them to come back the next meeting because we wanted more information. But based on last night, I don't know why we did that, because we don't need more information.
You're not allowed to have it. It's discriminatory.
Right. Okay, continue.
And then, what is it? Will the town hold special sessions for its own? This is more like a sarcastic question, that depending on how it went, have special sessions for its citizens whenever they need something, like they did for this company, because they let their stuff lapse. So we had a special meeting for them. I mean, that's not favoritism. That's just working with. Hey, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. As long as they do that for its own citizens, that's my whole point. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I just want to make sure that you did it for them. You better do it for the rest of us. And then one of my other questions was, how long before you sell, which that got asked, actually. And then and that was it. That was my thing. But here's what I want to do. I want to remind everybody that at a May 5th, 2023 Select Board meeting, the engineer for the Spring Street was talking. And he kept referring to the agent for this project. So he kept talking for Spring Street, but he kept saying we, and then Mr. Leviticus never said, hey, don't include me in that. So this is why I'm saying this. From my own personal watching this, because I was there on May 5th, right? So the Spring Street engineer, I have his name written down somewhere, but you can go watch the 5 May Select Board meeting. It's on NCTV.
As you were ordered to do.
So the engineer said that, and this is how you know it's bullshit whenever I was told that you can't discriminate, all right? Said the towns will get funds if they embrace it, and that's the lie of workforce housing. He was referring to the made-up term of workforce housing, right? So that same guy said that towns weren't allowing this housing until it was incentivized recently. So some towns apparently were able to say, hey, no, you know what? We don't want low-income housing. We can't really do that. If you take a look at it, maybe some market rate, whatever, because we can decide what goes into our town. You can say, hey, wait, you're putting in a shanty, or, you know, like, you can stop that. That's not discrimination. It's discrimination in the sense of, like, yeah, we don't want that, but how weak. Anyway, so by their own standards, we could discriminate against these types of projects, but towns like ours stopped doing it once it was incentivized properly, which means we were bribed by the governor with his $10,000 per unit. They dangled that, right? So up to $10,000 a unit. Well, that's going to take care of all of our needs.
But where that came from too is even further because they try to talk the governor. The state of New Hampshire got $100 million from the federal government for housing. Then the state of New Hampshire took that and put it forward that $1 million you're eligible for per town, which broke down at $10,000 per unit. So it's the federal government that threw this money out there to start with.
No, I get it, but I'm just
I
saying
know,
that.
But someone has recently said that, the
So
state
to
of
be
New
told
Hampshire
last
did this
night-
'cause
so-
the state of New Hampshire wants this.
So I'm told last night though that they can't answer what type of housing they're going to put in there because that would be discrimination. So that sounds like that was made up to keep me from getting them to admit that it's low-income housing. So it's low-income housing that may or may not have 2% of its population be school-age children, but it's definitely going to impact the traffic pattern. Don't worry, though. They do have a plan for snow removal. I learned that in the minutes from 2017. So our zoning board made sure that this unit will be able to plow its snow away and not cause any snow-delayed problems while they exit their parking lot. What the freak, man? That's important, I guess, on some level. But the impact financially to the rest of the town is what's important. How do we make sure that we don't have, slum develop within 2 or 3 years?
The other thing too about the
It's a known stereotype that low-income housing quickly becomes the projects, and I don't mean that in a racial thing. It just when you have low income, you got 70 people there, and then you're not enforcing these things.
think about it, when you can make a maximum of $40,000 for a 1-bedroom or whatever. I don't know what it breaks down to per hour, but that's not much money nowadays.
Well, here's the other thing is why I should have been able to ask that, because that's the other thing, right? So to be told that I can't ask this, it's in their write-up. They say in their write-up. So I'm told I can't ask questions about this, but they justify why they should get approved for all these different things, because it says in here, the applicant's proposed adaptive reuse of the mill into rental apartments with attractive amenities will serve as a need for high-quality workforce housing in Newport. So they used the lying term right there in number 1. And this is what the board was supposed to consider last night under contrary to public interest. So they lied, or they didn't lie, but they made up a term that's ambiguous.
Don't ask me.
Ambiguous. Good Lord. I'm not angry. I'm just fired up because I'm concerned, man. I'm just passionate. The applicant feels that, the target market for the applicant envisions is regional in scope with a special focus on the Dartmouth University and medical center areas. So they dangle that they're going to get, professors from Dartmouth to come live in Newport?
Which, I mean, I guess then there are 20 units that are marketplace value, but they're just selling it that way.
No, I know, but that's why you're supposed to ask
50 of
questions.
those units. Here's the other thing. All right, so let me just quickly, okay? So I will go. I will go this afternoon, maybe after I leave here, but I have stuff to do. It's supposed to rain later, so I will go and I will file the appeal against this, and I guarantee you I have enough grounds to do so. Now let me explain, because as you were reading that, it dawned on me some things that didn't happen last night. So first of all, I believe you'd have enough grounds, because not that I necessarily don't think Burroughs can have a objective, not that I think he is automatically going to say this is a support. Not that he's going to necessarily support it just because he's voted for the abatement. So I can personally get by that, but it just doesn't. It's not a good thing. They should have put Jeff North on there, and I think that would have been plenty sufficient. The other thing is, if they waited, I'm not sure why Ben Nelson wasn't there, both meetings, so I'm thinking maybe he's away this week. Ben would have been good. Ben's the chair. Ben's been on the zoning board longer than all of us. Like, he's been on the zoning board, I think, for I bet close to 20 years, so he knows it. The meeting would have been ran well. No offense to Chris, because I was on that board for 4 years before I had to run a meeting, and that was hard, and it was a tough meeting. And then he got thrown into that whole mix. So you only had 3 people there. It's a 5-person board. Okay, I can't sit on it, but my alternate could have, or the alternate could have. Scott McCoy should have been able to sit on it. I don't believe he has a conflict with it. But for some reason, they're rushing this through. Okay. The other thing is, they didn't answer your questions. Now they're going to say, well, we said, is there any more questions? But clearly you were shut down.
Yeah, I was
right?
shut down.
Because you were just, that's discriminatory. You can't ask the question. The other thing that didn't happen is when that application's presented, John's supposed to read that what he wrote up. He's supposed to read that whole entire thing to the board, and none of that was read into the record. None of it. And it's supposed to be. You look at every meeting we've ever had, it has been. They were trying to rush that thing through last night.
Yeah, which, be open and honest about it. Tim, I'm telling you, I wasn't there to try to stop this or anything else. I wanted to ask these series of questions because if I'm sitting here thinking about these things as a school board member, and I'm pretty sure at some point we were like, is anybody going to clue us in? Like, is there going to be any, like, shouldn't we be involved somewhere with like the master plan or something? Shouldn't there be like some school input since we're 2/3 of the taxes? Yeah. And oh, by the way, like the school can't afford, like the school being the town can't afford for the school to come back and be like, I need more money. Like there's a finite number of, or there's a finite amount of taxes that we can request.
But if you look at history of Newport,
break the town.
The history has literally always been blame the school. They're the ones that take 2/3 of your tax money. So, and you also got to remember the town of Newport's been bribed on this. First of all, it should be straight up a bribe, and it should be illegal. So, Spring Street was approved.
Incentivized. They weren't bribed. They were incentivized.
Let's call it what it is. It was a bribe. So, Spring Street is eligible for the $420,000. The town is, right? And depending on what they do with this water sewer thing, they'll probably get to the $420,000. The balance of that should go to this mill building, okay? Now, the school district gets none of this money. None of it. It all goes to the town of Newport, as in the town side of things, not as the people, not as anything. So, how is that right in that aspect? The town gets the money, but the school gets the liability, and thus the taxpayers get the liability, because if you bring in a bunch more kids, guess what? We're all going to have to pay more in taxes. That we're already 4th highest in the state. I mean, since our reval, I'd probably say we're not because the rate dropped. But
well, I mean, the reval's killing all of us.
Yeah, commercial property goes down, but everything with a bed on it went up drastically. Yeah,
it seems legit.
So I guess like for our viewers, and why I wanted to come in early and do the show because it's 8:30 right now, and I have to get back to finishing the handicap ramp. But you were fired up last night. I was fired up because there's just things said and done that aren't normal and not normally how it works. Normally, you don't get a special meeting. Usually, if you got a special meeting, it's because we screwed up. We couldn't get a quorum of the meeting before or something like that. We've done that because we don't want to, because we couldn't.
So that's what last night was, right? But Tuesday's meeting was special.
Yeah, Tuesday's
last night was a continuation of that, but Tuesday's meeting, just so we don't get fact checked that last night was a continuation and it wasn't a special. Tuesdays was special.
Right. But then it was so special that they 2 days later got another meeting together. We've never done that either.
I'm telling you, if I ever say something like go back, like now I'll say it on the show, like go back and watch May 5th or whatever. If I say that as a school board member in my individual capacity, please punk me out since right now you're on the board with me. Do not let me do that because I just, you know what I mean? Like, that's just not, answer the questions. And if you don't know the answers, there doesn't have to be a rush. Like, why are we rushing for these guys? If
rushing because they haven't got it done in 6 years yet?
Exactly. Like, so we're not going to have we're not going to have a debate or a discussion or clarification on, number one, you're lying to the town when you call it workforce housing. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't want to hear it again. It's fake. It's a made up term. There's no legal definition of it as of 2 days ago when I looked it up because I got tired of this whole, what is it? Am I misogynist, racist, sexist for calling it workforce or Section 8 housing? Or, the difference between workforce, Section 8 housing and low-income housing. It's low-income housing.
Yeah,
the agent made it very clear because he knew what was going on, and that term was not going to get bought by me last night.
And kudos to John for saying low income, because that's
I was
first time.
I was waiting for him because he must have seen my notes or something because he was right across from me. But I was like, say it. Anybody on this board, anybody say that, because it's fake, it's made up, it's to assuage you, it's to lull you into comfort so that you don't feel bad that your tax dollars are being given away. Because at the end of the day, our property taxes are going to pay for some of this. Our income taxes, those of us that pay income taxes, are paying for the government side of all of the
housing.
All of the money men behind this are basically borrowing money from us to put this in our town. And it's not. I wasn't against it, but now I am. Like, not against it, but I'm against the procedures that went down last night, because you can consider what type of housing it is, because the zoning board can say, hey, we have 200 units of low income housing right now. We got to put a pause on that. Why don't you take that back and relook it?
And if you couldn't consider,
and if you can't consider that, then why the fuck do you have a zoning board?
But if you can't consider
meaning that says
the low
public
income
interest.
senior, you can't consider any of that, then why do we ever hear any of it? It should just be, I'm putting 70 apartments in there. End of story. Yeah. Are they market? Nope, not your fucking business.
Yeah.
It's discrimination. I'm putting 70 units in there. Has no bearing whatsoever on anything.
That's why I feel like I was shut down, because that wasn't discriminatory. Like, I would like to, like, I should have said, show me the law that says it's discriminatory. It's like, see, I'm too kind, because I don't want to be. I just sat there and shook my head in disbelief at
so here we go.
The buffoonery that instead of talking to us, they take it personally. Like, you're not working for that company. That company needs to be freaking earning our trust. Your trust as a select board member, as a zoning board member, as a school board member. These big businesses coming into our town should earn our trust, not by using fake terms and trying to pull the wool of magic over our eyes and set us up for a bad deal. It's going to make them a lot of money. I don't think that's too much to ask.
The two last things I'll say is, one, if you can't, like I said, if you can't ask that question, right, if that's discriminatory, then how come I couldn't go up, say, all right, I'm going to go live at Summercrest. I just need a house to live in, right? I need a place to live. Yeah. Now, granted, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and that'll kind of weed you out. But I'm pretty sure a nursing home can say, yeah, you're not old enough, or you don't have, if you had a disability or something, maybe that would fit. But
medical condition.
So, and then how come Florida has 55 plus communities all over the place? Because I tried to buy a cheap ass trailer in a park down there just so you had a place to go, because we go down, it costs, for a week, $2,000 for an apartment or whatever you do. Sorry, you're not old enough. And they're doing it because they don't want kids, right? So most people at 55 want grandkids,
they
but they
will
don't
keep
have
it
kids.
quiet around there.
And they'll keep it quiet. How's that not discrimination? Different state. It's still the United States of America, the Constitution, discrimination.
It's not.
discrimination.
That was a bullshit answer, because they have the term all throughout their freaking. It's not. It's in part 1 for public interest. So I'm not allowed to ask a question about something that they have written down. I don't understand that. That would be like, it just. I might be wrong. I mean, that's why I'm not like angry. I'm disappointed in the fact that I felt like it was shutting me down because they felt like they owed it to these guys to just get them in and out. They've been working hard for 6 years and not making it.
No, if you really want to look at it, okay, we'll go to a term I heard at a football game, the last football game. It's 16-11 because the refs are on the Newport side, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. I didn't see really. There was one call that Paul saw. He's like, I saw the hand on the guy, and it should have been a foul.
Pass interference.
Yeah,
I saw that one.
But I said to Wayne, I'm like, however, the ball wasn't catchable. Thus should have eliminated.
And that's exactly what I said to Devin or whoever saying. I think it was Devin saying.
So, but I heard that term. So lately, it feels like in Newport, it's depending on the board, and then the big business versus the people of Newport. The ones that actually pay the bills, right? Now, you could say that anyone on the board pays taxes because you have to be a resident, be on the board. Yeah, okay, get it. But the little taxes that, the 15, 20 of them pay versus the whole town as a whole, and you represent the town. On the school board, I represent the people of the town. On the zoning board, I represent the people of the town. The people. The people.
No. You got to protect the companies.
Well, seems likely.
Here's the thing. I had some questions. I think the town, not like this is just a microcosm of the things that go on. To be told, go watch the meeting that's on NCTV. It was discussed at other things. I don't care if it was discussed. I want to know you're about to vote to allow them to build this 70-unit apartment complex because it's a brand new case from what I understood from reading.
It is a brand new case.
I mean, I read through all these things.
The variance lapsed. It's a brand new case.
So I read through all these things.
It's got a different case number.
And I don't even know it's like what they voted on last night because they didn't read into any of this. So that is a good point. So I can't even go pull the minutes.
So
my concern was just to ask these questions so that we're thinking about it as a town, so that we're not just approving, rubber stamping things because it's quote unquote good for the master plan because we have a critical shortage out like. We like you said, there's 30 some odd homeless in town. We need to do better than that as a community, and I'm sure there's people out there helping.
But those people can't even get into this place.
Right, like that's the rub is that
It's just pure laziness. No one wants to actually do the work and look into these things, so we're just like, well, it is what it is.
See, I don't want to say it's laziness, man. Everybody's busy. Like the whole point of me coming there and asking the questions is, these 3 guys or 5 guys or ladies, the team here of people may not think about the impact of school. It's just that they're not thinking that. They're thinking, oh, here is a new tax base, which they're not paying. None of those 200 people are going to be paying property tax, right? Just the 4 companies that own all this.
Yeah, you can't look at it that way, though. If you rent in town, you're still paying taxes, just paying it through the landlord. It's still taxes.
I understand, but I'm looking at it from...
Some of these people in town are paying more goddamn money in freaking rent than they should be. Like I said, my niece lives on Laurel Street. She pays $2,000 a month. I know that place has at least 4 units in it. And I know that motherfucker ain't paying $8,000 a month in mortgage and taxes. He's a slumlord and he's making a fortune. I don't know who the fucking owns the building, so... put that out there, but
so these buildings will kind of put those out, right? Because they'll either have to clean up their act, lower their rent,
right,
make it worth your while,
which could be the bright side of it. However,
because there's good things,
right.
Tim, I did not go there last night to try to stop this, like that. I wasn't trying to get them to a no. I was just trying to get answers so that number one, whenever we're lied to, like we can all say, well, this developer lied and said it was going to be a 2% students per. 1,000, you can expect 20 students out of 1,000 units. Because we need to know who to hold accountable. So we were bamboozled. We used their data, and their data was way off because their data is meant to assuage our fears. That's the whole point. But I wanted to ask these questions so that they could be held accountable in some form or fashion before they sell it.
So the average income in New Hampshire, this is 2020, so I don't know what they've been doing for the last 3 years, but it's $37,025 for an individual. Household $77,923. Okay, so a household would be 2 people. So if that's what that income is, okay, then why would the income levels be so freaking low to get it into this place? It's not workforce housing, I'm telling you, man. And we've already determined it's not. Because on the concept of workforce housing, I'm 100% for it. Because if you have a single mom out there with 2 children that aren't in school yet, and she has to pay daycare, she's going to have to make $800 a week just to go work, pay daycare probably $300 or $400 a week for the 2 kids, roughly, right? No, it depends where you go, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, a single parent let's say single parent, because they're not all single moms, single parent, can't afford to live, pay rent, feed their kids, feed themselves, and pay for daycare. So on the concept of that, giving them a rent at a lower rate and everything, I'm 100% for that concept. But it's not even reality, though, because the amount they can make so little to start with. So it's $40,000 for a 1-bedroom. And you think, hey, no kids, but I don't know, like legally, if they're all the same sex kid, then I mean, of course, can you say that nowadays? Because sex is not, it's arbitrary, right? It's whatever you want it to be, made up. So, but if they had 2 girls, could they live in that 1-bedroom? I mean, technically, I would say no. I don't think you're supposed to. Now, if it's a 2-bedroom, yeah, the 2 girls can be in the same bedroom. But say it's 2 kids, one's a boy, one's a girl. Once they get to a certain age, they can't legally It's not what it is. It's never what it is. It's always, you're selling you a great concept, but the concept's not real. It's a fucking lie. Just tell it how it is.
Yeah, that's all I ever ask out of anything. Just tell me the truth. How can we work together? It's like going and buying a car. You want to make money. I know you want to make money, but don't rip me off. Right. And then once you rip me off, now you're dead to me. Like, it's the old used car salesman. It's the same thing. Just be honest. And all I wanted was answers to some of these on the record so that people can be held accountable. And so since I apparently am not allowed to ask questions that address things that they turned in on Tuesday. This is from Tuesday, so I don't even know, because they didn't read anything last night. I don't even know if this is what they considered, because this was from Tuesday's meeting that was postponed to last night. Granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest. You don't get to ask questions, public. Just remember that. You get to ask some superficial, are you going to plow the road? Are you going to plow your driveway for your residents? Do you got somewhere to put the snow? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, go ahead, build it. As long as you got snow removal, build it. I mean, I'm being kind of facetious, just poking a little bit of fun, but really, we got to be able to ask these tough questions, and the select board better figure out pretty quickly who has the authority to say, no, thank you, we already have enough low-income housing in town. We need some, market rate. We need because we can't just bring in low-income renters, because that's not going to be good for the town. Am I being discriminatory by saying that? Yeah, I'm discriminating against large amounts of low income because we can't take everybody in.
Well, it's a balance, right?
I mean, exactly.
It's a balancing act. And you could easily argue that most of Newport is low income. You know what I'm saying? You have elderly people trying to hold on to their houses that will probably lose them soon when they get their sewer water bills. You have people like myself.
It's not just the sewer and water bill. That's like the straw that's breaking the camel's back.
The tax rate itself is.
Everything is.
The odd thing is, if you look at Sullivan County as a whole, all the top, I think all of them, like Claremont's the worst taxes in the whole state. And it was like margin, it was like $10 per thousand higher than us. And we were 4th. And now, like I said, the reval, which is just, it's just a fake thing that, see, the rate's not the same. It's only 20 now. You're still paying the same amount of money.
Exactly. I didn't get a
Once
tax
again,
break.
You're not telling the truth. You're just putting something forward that
it's a magic trick.
Exactly. Charlestown's getting there. Like, pretty much all the highest taxes in the whole state are in Sullivan County.
It's the small towns.
Yeah. And it kind of comes back if the state funded education like they should. We probably won't even have this conversation right now because they'd be like, well, it's really not going to hurt the town, honestly.
I mean, we don't even have.
It's going to help the town.
We don't even have paved roads throughout town. We don't have high-speed internet throughout town. But yet we're marching forward with this great housing. We're going to solve it here in our town. We're just going to keep taking money. I know they're not.
What gets me the most,
some facetiousness in what I'm saying, but like,
is when they fucking stand there before these boards and act like they're doing us a
I know
favor.
That is so demeaning.
Pisses me off.
Yeah, exactly. Like that guy. He's so cocky. Sit up straight. You're asking for money from us. You're asking us, oh, I don't get any fiduciary gain. The fuck you don't, man.
Oh, you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. Oh, you have a nonprofit, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you're like okay, yeah.
What a clown. Like, dude, seriously? you're in our town. I know you're better than us because you make more money and you got your long hair swayed back and I think you had flip flops on. I don't know.
Nah, I didn't, but
But you know what I mean? He comes rolling up in there, and then, I had no issue with him until he attacked Dr. Scott like that. But I'm glad that he used the proper term. So we now know workforce housing is not a real term. It's a made up term to gaslight you, to blindfold you, to make you feel good that you're doing something. It's made up. It's low income housing. And that was made clear last night. That's not even me. So if anybody on the select board is offended by me correcting you by using this fake term, your own construction company agent let the cat out of the bag. It's low income housing on the record.
which I've known for a while because
I mean, we both known it. I tried to say it, and they're like, no, you're wrong. I don't know if it was on the show and someone commented on I don't know if it was a meeting, but it was in the past. But somebody out there has tried to correct.
So to wrap up the show, here's the thing. Yep, people are going to be like, oh, she was just bitching about everything, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I can tell you right now, 5 years from now, when everything has absolutely gone to shit because this town cannot handle 42 units and then 70 units and 42 more units up by the airport and then a 92 unit senior housing, which, I mean, that should be able to change now too because it's discrimination apparently. So when you put all these people in town and you're like, oh my God, what happened? Why didn't someone say anything? Why is this happening? We did say something. I've been saying it for 5 years on the zoning board. I asked Kessler way back, how many does Hunter want us to approve?
It shouldn't matter.
And the answer was all of them. All of them.
So where is the work done
And if
to
you
show
want,
that
you
we
can-
can handle all that at one time?
And if you want to spend the time and go back through the meetings,
over a year and a half or over 3 years.
it'll be on NCTV when I asked the question. So you can be like, it didn't happen. Yeah, it did. I have nothing to fucking gain out of any of this bullshit.
Well, no,
you know how much time I spend trying to do this stuff, being on the school board.
I know.
doing what's
That's
right
what
for
I was
kids.
saying earlier. You can't. It can't be 6 of us going around trying to do even the select board is there because they want to do good. Right? I know that. My point is that I think that was made up bullshit last night because they have it in here that it's workforce housing. So why can't I ask that? Why can't you take it into consideration, low income versus market rate? Because according to their own architect, and by there I'm talking about the Spring Street, but they did include them. You go back and watch the May 5th meeting. Not once did that agent say, "Hey, don't include me in your don't lump me in with you." They said it.
So this is what we need to do.
Clear.
So me and you, with all our spare time, of course you're leaving in a couple days, we should go to Lebanon. I want to go to their planning and zoning. And I want to say, okay, what do I have to bring here to prove my case? Because I bet in planning and zoning, planning is more. Planning, there's much more detail, which is interesting because the planning board can say, no, we don't want you to have that color fence. We want you to have this color fence. So you have the authority to do that, which I call bullshit on that because, no, it's his property. If he wants a green fence and you think it should be red, well, you can fuck yourself. You don't have the authority. Who the fuck do you think you are? He's paying the taxes on it. But you can do that. You can be like, I don't like that light you're using there on the outside. I think you should do this, okay? But zoning has no right to ask what kind of housing's going in there because first fucking question is it contrary to the public interest? It would not be good for the public to have 70 units go in with 140 kids. That would not be contrary to public interest, would it?
It would be contrary to
Or it
public
would be
interest.
contrary to public interest.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm not allowed to ask that. Pipe down out there in the audience, and just go watch NCTV. They'll answer your questions. We're just going to get them. Only about 8 more of these popped up in town, and then we'll be able to afford the water and sewer $28 million loan we encouraged y'all to vote for, because we told you that if you don't vote for it, the EPA is going to shut the town down. Have you never watched a Western movie? Let the EPA come and shut our town down. How fun and amusing would that be? How entertaining would that be to have the national spotlight on us? The EPA is going to shut down the 6,000 person town who can't afford a $28 million sewer treatment plant. Bring the spotlight on us, because an engineer will probably be like, they need about a $6 million thing, and I'll donate it to them because whatever. Like,
and meanwhile, illegals are shitting on the streets all over New York, and it's like no big deal. EPA don't care about that.
Exactly.
No,
they're going to shut down Newport because our phosphorus level was 3 parts per billion too high. Or I don't know what the right thing is. I'm kind of trying to be funny.
Imaginary number they've changed, like the lead one. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up the show. Steve's leaving when? Monday?
At some point in time. I like to keep things mysterious.
Anyways, he's gonna be gone for a couple weeks, but I'm gonna try to do a few shows myself during that period of time, and maybe I can get some guests in here too. Yeah, I mean, the moral of the whole show today is: at what point do you want to stand up? Do you want to stand up now when it's maybe a little uncomfortable, and then you're like, oh, this is kind of hard? Or do you want to be standing up when you're crying, what happened to my town? I can't afford to live here anymore. I'm going to have to move. I've been here for 5 generations, blah, 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 because, the town's been destroyed because the taxes have gone up and up and up and up. Or maybe they, fill these houses with illegals because it is all federal money. So,
yeah,
that could happen too. So, anyways, have a great day. Thanks for watching Tim and Steve Show. We'll see you next time.
There's not a pill you can take. There's not a class you can go to. Stupid is forever.
Man north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end.